and airplane mode. Let's see what happens. Who's going to call?
Yeah, I had to talk to, well, we're live. I mean, I got a quick call in with my daughter because that's about as quick of a call as I can get in. I'm like, where are you? And she's like, I'm on my way to study hall. And I'm like, okay, I've got 5 minutes. That's as much time as you got. So we're all good. So it's all good. So, okay, well, we are live. And, yeah, we're live. There we go. So I can keep track of messages. And
I already did it. I already did it.
yay. um, so welcome everyone. Give people 3 minutes. Probably in just a little bit early because I do have another LinkedIn Live because I never like to not do something on a Thursday. With
Yeah.
America at 7. So we're going to be talking about workers, which is a fun topic. So yeah, so we'll get started here. If you're watching, please drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. And of course, for anybody that has any questions, please let us know. And yeah, I think we've got a couple of people watching, so we'll go ahead and get started. You're going to notice one of the things I'm going to start saying, you're going to notice a little bit of a change for when we were on Clubhouse and then we were LinkedIn Audio, now doing LinkedIn Lives. We've always called ourselves LinkedIn 101, becoming a LinkedIn rock star. And we're kind of going through some iterations right now. I think we'll probably land on this a little bit of this title, but we're removing the LinkedIn 101. And not that this isn't this is still going to be for everybody. It doesn't matter what level you're at. You could be a first timer on LinkedIn. You could be even a power user that is, maybe you're struggling. Maybe you just need support. Maybe you want that, just bounce ideas off of other people, whatever the case you are. So you're going to see kind of changing. I think we're going to call it Rocking LinkedIn with the Rockstar Academy. Of course, the Rockstar Academy is the cohort that we built out last year, and we're in the process of evolving that into something brand new, and that's going to be coming forth. So yeah, you're going to see a little bit of a change, a new title, and we're going to just do something fun things. So meantime, for those that are watching, I'm going to have my partner introduce herself, and then I will introduce myself, and then we'll jump right into it.
Thanks, Mel. Hey, everyone. So good to be back here. And I can't see you right now in the audience. So if you're here, we would love if you could give a wave emoji or drop your where you're joining us from in the comments. And if you're catching us on Team Replay, we'd love for you to do the same. That way we know where people are tuning in from. I was about to read your comment, Mel, but no, that's Melanie for everybody. Yes, she's just reiterating what I'm saying. I am Shelle, you're a LinkedIn cheerleader. I'm also an engagement strategist, and what that means is I blend the two together when we're here. In order to really bring that maximum support level for you, I believe in creating and cultivating safe spaces to emerge. I want you to have a voice. I want you to have fun with it. And if you don't quite feel like you have that excitement to do it for yourself, then by all means, fuel yourself with my energy and enthusiasm. Let my excitement be your guide. So I'm here to guide you through engaging on the platform and how to show up and feel authentic doing it, how to have fun doing it, how to feel excited doing it, and more confident so that you can have more success on the platform. Mel, I'd really love for you to introduce yourself because I feel like you always forget to do that.
I probably do on some occasions, but for those that don't know who I am, my name is Melanie Wexler. I am a career coach, but also a LinkedIn strategist, and I work with professionals and helping them specifically with LinkedIn, helping them understand how to optimize their profile, but actually how to use this platform in a way so that you can be found, seen, and heard. And I think that it's really important for people to understand my journey with LinkedIn has evolved. It's evolved from the time that I was a recruiter where I literally I was a worker. I was finding people for jobs. I was messaging them, but I wasn't really building relationships with them. I wasn't posting content at all. Like that was a foreign concept to me. And LinkedIn was very different back then. And LinkedIn has evolved and LinkedIn has changed. And so I find that no matter how often I work with people or how many profiles I can go through on any given day, we're still seeing the same kind of I hate calling them mistakes, but we're still seeing the same things kind of repeatedly happen. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to be tackling your profile and really kind of talking about what do we think are the 5 most important pieces of your profile. To answer your question, Meryl, no, unfortunately, Roy is not going to be joining us. I think he had an early morning meeting this meeting or today, so unfortunately, he may come in a little bit later. Also see Americo there, and of course, I will be joining Americo at 7 o'clock for his LinkedIn Live. So if you're in the mood for some additional LinkedIn, learning, please join us there as well. And so yeah, so that's I think it's LinkedIn has become this thing where for me, I did not understand what to do or how to manage my platform or my profile in a way that actually worked. And there's so much information out there. I think sometimes it's overwhelming. So if you have a question you're watching, please drop it in the chat. We're more than happy to answer those questions for you. I also want to and just I'm trying to keep track of the messages as well. Want to say hi to Jay, say as well as Rochelle was watching. So welcome everyone.
Welcome.
Yeah, so if you guys have specific questions, and it doesn't have to be related to your profile, it can be any types of questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We definitely want to answer them. The other question I have for the audience, and I want you all to leave a message here, is what do you think is the most important or five most important pieces of your LinkedIn profile? We want to hear from you as well. Maybe you give us some new ideas and new ways and new things to kind of talk about. Okay, Shelle, let's just go in. We don't have a list, by the way.
We don't. You mean we don't have 5 that we regularly talk about? I feel like we do.
Let me say this. We don't pre-plan this conversation, folks, okay?
So true.
Like her and I don't, like, we're not in the background like, what are your 5? What are my 5? We definitely wing this part of the conversation. So I mean, we can break it down, but what would you say number 1 is for you? What would you say? What do you feel like is the number 1 piece that people should, for you, what would be the number, and maybe not the number 1 in ranking of importance, but
the first thing that comes to mind?
First thing that comes to mind. Let's go with that.
Yeah. You've heard us talk about this from week to week. One of the things that, and rather than like talk specifically about these 2 profile areas, I want to talk about them collectively as a whole and your profile as a whole. Like one of the things that I think you absolutely need to do for your personal brand, for the story that you want to articulate, for the audience that you want to cultivate and bring in, is to personalize your online presence. And what I mean by that is like, don't just go through the motions of like filling out the different profile sections. Like make them your own. Use your voice married with your audience's voice so that they can start to resonate with like, oh, okay, I relate to this, or like I want that transformation too, or I've been feeling and struggling with that too. She can help me with that. Like start bringing in those personal details of like who you want to be, how you want to be perceived, what you want people to remember about you, how you can help, and what you want your audience to do next. And we often talk about that through the lens and we go down the rabbit hole quite often, and we talk over and over again about the profile picture and the banner, but it's really like overarching, like how can you personalize your experience here and the experience that people get when they land on your profile. So that's like the biggest thing for me is the personalization aspect of it, and it goes so much further than that banner image and the profile picture. That's often just the thing that we latch onto as the starting point for the conversation. So that's why I want to talk about it through like an overarching lens.
I totally support that. Now, Andrew actually had a comment in the the comments, you can imagine it equates to a resume. And obviously, as a career coach, and you understand this as well, that you've worked with people and having taken information from their resumes. And I would say this is a big misconception. And I know this isn't necessarily
Yeah.
quote unquote one of the five, but it's definitely something I think is really important. It goes to that personalization factor that a lot of people are under that perception. And I think this was something that was probably when LinkedIn first started, was part of that, um, was part of that, kind of like, oh, this is your online, resume. LinkedIn now does way more for you. I always tell my clients, think of it this way: LinkedIn and your resume are like a chicken and the egg. Which is going to come first? We don't really quite have the answer, because so many people can find you on LinkedIn far more than they're ever going to see your resume, to be honest. So you have the ability to tell your story, to Chelle's point, have your ability to personalize your story, whether you're a job seeker, a consultant, a business owner, entrepreneur. It gives you so much more power. Not to say that a resume doesn't have that, but truthfully, LinkedIn is turned on 24/7 for you. So it's working for you in ways that a resume never will. It just simply it just simply has that much power. So it is your ability to dive deeper into more of a personal brand, because in a resume, whether it's 1 or 2 pages, we just don't have the space to give it all of everything that we do on a LinkedIn profile. And
Yeah.
yes,
And I would add that, like, your resume and your LinkedIn should go hand in hand and be consistent with each other. But LinkedIn really is the space where you can take what's on your resume and add more nuance, more detail. You can show your work, not just tell about it. Like, you can show the proof. Like, if on your resume it says I 10x this, or whatever the milestone or achievement is, like on LinkedIn you could literally show your process for doing that, or like you can show the win, like from the beginning to the end, like do a case study. There's so many ways to add more credibility to what you're already trying to sell for yourself, or sell of yourself, on your LinkedIn profile, and in the way that you show up and tell your story and your experiences and you share your expertise. So I do think that they go hand in hand to support each other. They should be consistent, but like LinkedIn is your resume on steroids. It's amplified. It's more pieces of you that you people just wouldn't get just by having your resume in their hand.
absolutely. And it has ability to, what I would also say, take from a visual standpoint, we respond differently to different visual images. And I know Jay had a comment about images with posts, and we'll talk about posts and content, because I think there's power in that as well. But there's ways that you can actually add in extra layers. So, for example, um, I do think this is really an important section for, no matter, I always say, what bucket you fall into. So, again, the job seeker, the entrepreneur, the consultant, the freelancer, is your featured section. And it's the most underutilized section of all of the sections. But here you have the ability to include a portfolio. You have the ability to, I personally will say, as a coach and a former recruiter, I will tell you, not well, as a former recruiter, I would love for you to like attach your resume, because it makes it easy for me. As a coach, I'll tell you not to, because we want to spark them to give you a phone call and ask to have a conversation. That's for another LinkedIn live. So, but your featured section has the ability to get them to the next stage of like connecting with you with a phone call, if you're, or your website, anything. And it also visually, you can start to create visual, like, um, have the ability to add those images. It also has the ability, if you have premium, to be able to attach, or business premium, I should say, because it's very specific on this one, to attach a recommendation. But I will say you can create that by doing a screenshot of the recommendation in Canva and then creating a file with it. So you can still capture it by moving those recommendations up higher. So I think there's so much in that featured section, and I know I'm not even touching on it, but that elevates it. And that does take our imagery that we use for, when we see things, to another level, that a resume in and of itself can't do.
Yeah, and even outside of should I have premium or premium business, or should I just stick with the free plan? Clients ask me all the time, again, not related to the plan of LinkedIn that you're on, but they like, what if somebody is willing to write me a recommendation but they're not on LinkedIn? How do I tie that to my profile? And to Melanie's point, well, they can still absolutely write one for you. You can then either take a screenshot of it and add it as a graphic to the featured section to show it off, or tie it to the relevant like experience section and add it as media so that people can see the feedback that as it was associated with that job. Or you could create a graphic in Canva for it to, to make it your own even further. But there's workarounds for everything. So just because not everybody is on LinkedIn, and just because you don't have premium or premium business, or whatever the case may be, we can find a way to highlight and feature, purposely using that word there for the section, some of the things that you're really proud of and the work that you've done, and like really call more attention to it, because there's a reason that it's called the featured section. It's not for you to just casually put something there and tag every single post that you've written or like anything anyone's ever said about you. They're going to see it anyway. Put the things that you're most proud of in real time. I come back to it every few months and I'm like, okay, what is the most important thing that I want people to know about me right now? Right now it's the book a one-to-one call with me. But sometimes that's join LinkedIn Rockstar Academy. Sometimes that's check out my book or my latest podcast episode, or this interview that I've done, or this community service thing that's happening. Like there's always something that I'm going on, because celebrating small wins as a LinkedIn cheerleader is really important, even for myself. And you can do it too. Like there's always something that you're like, I'm really proud of this. I want other people to know about it. I want people to celebrate it with me. And I don't think that we do that enough. So absolutely, I think the featured section is a must have.
Yeah, I think that it's the most, and I get more pushback. And I work with clients that come from all different walks of life, all levels of experience. I mean, recent college, I'll have somebody that'll be like, I'm a recent college grad. And again, the advice that we give here, because I do have another uh, social audio platform where I do career coaches on call that's specifically for career related questions. But everything that I talk about here, and some people are like, oh, you're a LinkedIn specialist for just career coaching. I'm like, no, I'm a LinkedIn specialist for coaches, for business professionals, consultants, whoever. If you're having trouble, I'm going to give you those ideas. And I truly just can, I mean, Chelle's my partner in LinkedIn as far as I'm concerned. And we have each of our own thing, and then we have our thing together. So, so I mean, I was even, the course that I just did for Udacity, I'm literally like, oh, if my partner could see me. It was literally like telling my video guys, as things like that. So, but I did have a point. So my point was like also a video. So here's the thing: like we used to have the 30-second video or the 1 minute video
The cover story.
in the cover, that went away. Everybody can be doing a video. Hey, this is Shell, this is Mel, this is a little bit about me. What a great way to add that to your featured section. So I always say when people push back, yes, I'm going to push you on things. When I coach people, I try to push them on things that they maybe don't think about, but how can we utilize it? I have some clients right now that have some NDA issues with like projects they've worked on, things like that, that we have to be careful about naming names, things like that. So we're trying to come up with ideas of how to still showcase this, in ways that can showcase their experience, and and still have the proper workaround and the respect and legal things that we need to recognize. So, but again, it doesn't matter. I mean, my daughter is graduating from college in 15 days, so the countdown is on.
Where's her LinkedIn profile?
She is supposedly working on it, but I will say this. So my children have a very weird reaction to their mother. I have never touched either one of their. I actually don't. She was supposed to have hers. I don't think she has hers up yet. My son does have his, but he lives his little best life, and he has managed an amazing career, and he is 30, and he has never asked his mother for one single piece of advice. And but I cannot complain because he's actually really successful. So I'm not gonna. So I just let them be. I try not to be coach. I try not to be um, anything like. I'm like, I am here to support you guys. My daughter's whole big thing was, I said, I can help you with that, right? She's like, yeah, but I don't want you working for free. Was her
I've
response.
gotten that. Yeah.
And I'm like, you're my kid, but that's a whole other thing. But I will say that she already is going off to grad school. She has a full ride to the University of Louisville grad school for the next 6 years. They're paying for both. I'll just share this news now. But they are paying for. She's on a fast track for a PhD program. Basically, they told her that she was too, which by the way we were like, what? Basically, she was too smart for their master's program, so they're fast tracking her on a PhD program, 2 years, and so basically it's a 6 year program, but they're paying for all 6 years. So yeah, so I'm not too worried right now about her. So
Just curious. Yeah.
yeah, I'm good with where she's at right now in the world.
Yeah.
But I was like worried. I was like, for her roommate, I was like, do I need to do her LinkedIn? But she's gotten a job actually already as well. So I will say props to Western New England University, your career coaching or your career services. I am very critical of them. They actually are very top notch to be very awesome. They impressed me because she has a lot of her friends that already have jobs coming out of
Wow.
that school in a
That's
lot of
that's
different
great.
fields too, which is crazy in today's market. Believe me, this was something. Again, not worried about my kid because I knew where she was headed. I knew but I was worried about a lot of her friends. And I have to say, props to Western New England University for that. So, but I
Okay.
can get off
So we
really
so we've talked about the personalization. We talked about the featured section. We've talked about how your LinkedIn should amplify and support and be consistent with your resume. What other features are coming to mind for you, Mel?
I'm going to jump all the way to the bottom, and this is going to be some people are going to tell me this is a little bit might say this is a little bit of a weird one, but follow me with it. I'm going to go to the skills section, and here's why. So I've always had a love hate with this section, to be very honest with you. Like, I was always,
Tell us.
I don't believe, let me preface this. I don't believe in endorsements because the endorsements can be given by anybody and everybody. Your mother's second cousin can endorse you. Okay.
Your mother's
Rest
second
in peace.
cousin. Got it.
Yeah. If you like truly though, to be honest, like if so my mother was always my biggest like I could post something on Facebook and she would be the first one to comment on it. If I'd given her the opportunity, she would have endorsed me for everything. She didn't care. If she had met you, Shell, she'd endorse you for everything. Like she just would be, she's a good girl. She's a nice girl. Like so my mother is the reason I don't believe in endorse
Sorry,
because
mom.
they don't necessarily. Yeah, sorry, but they don't carry the same weight that recommendations do. But here's why I think skills are important. LinkedIn has changed how they're doing the investment in the skill section. They went from 50 to 100, which is still, I feel like, a lot. I feel like 75 was a good number, but okay, you gave us 100. Thank you. What we've also seen is the flip side, and this is more on the career side, is for job postings, the ability to see specifically the top 10 skills companies are listing, and you can see do you have which skills you have, and you can automatically add them to your profile from a job
Yeah.
posting. There's a special way to do that. I can give you more of the info on how to do it. Because it looks like a gray box. And honestly, if you go to a job posting, you see the skills, it's a gray box that will say 2 out of the 10 skills or whatever. It's reading your profile to see what skills. You can actually click on that box. A lot of people don't know that because it doesn't look like a box you can click. And from there, you can actually add the skills automatically to your profile. So that tells me LinkedIn's putting a lot of emphasis on skills. Why are skills important? Well, if I want to hire Shell and I type in, we'll just say LinkedIn training, I want everybody, I want to see who are LinkedIn trainers or somebody that has LinkedIn training. You, as just the regular everyday person, not a hiring person, this could be your customer that's looking for you. This could be, your ideal client. It could be another company that wants to hire you. They're going to type in those keywords, and that's also going to help how you come up in searches. So you can do Boolean searches. So LinkedIn trainer, I'm see Shell here, like health and wellness. So I want those specific skills. You can do that, but that's also how your clients, that's how hiring managers, recruiters, that's how people are finding you. So I think the skills have, in the course of me becoming a coach to today, I put far more emphasis on that investment in the skills. And I see people with like 26, 13. I've been doing LinkedIn profiles for clients. You can tell I've been deep in that. And I'm like, no, we got to have higher skills. I was never one to say having skills for the sake of skills. But if it's a specific skill you have, I'm not saying communication. I'm not saying, this is a stupid one. The first word that came to my mind, patience or something, like empathy, things like that. I mean, maybe somebody's looking up empathy, but a very specific skill that somebody would search to find you. You want it in your profile. That's the best way to have it,
Yeah.
to ensure that you have it in your
How do you
profile.
feel about like more generic skills, like everybody and their mother having Microsoft Office in there?
I do not believe in generic skills. I can tell you this as a former recruiter. Recruiters are not looking at generic skills. Your ideal client is not looking at generic skills. They're looking for something specific. That's how we search. How would you search? How do we don't go to Google and type in communication. Why? Because it's too broad. It's too,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's not even at the top of the funnel. It's so far above that funnel. It's not even reaching. We want to be down. You want to make your search easy to find that person. So you're going to go, and this is how like a recruiter thinks in this regard, but going clear to the bottom of the funnel, then you can go up. If you only got two people and you're like, oh, I want more option, okay, well, then I can add another skill. So I do not believe in generalized skills. I think that they're not words that actually people search. Nobody, I mean, if you're in communications, but even then, I'm going to get specific. I'm going to go industry, media communications, internal communications, external. Like there's specific types of communications. We all are communicators.
Yeah. And so true. And what are your thoughts? I'm taking this like another step further because I know I talk about this with clients a lot as well. What are your thoughts on, excuse me, sorry, don't know where that came from. Uh, Having variations of certain skills listed. So like that's how I could see where people end up having more than less because like you say something one way, a job listing is going to say something another way and your audience says something a slightly ever so slightly different way, but you know that they're all basically the same thing. How do you like is there a case and I think there is, but I want to know your viewpoint on it. Is there a case for having all of those variations on there if they all feel aligned?
Absolutely, I fully agree with that because if for example there's an acronym, so for example if you have a certification like a PMP, that's project management professional. So maybe I have that completely written out. Maybe I just do PMP because maybe the next person is just going to use that. If you have a certain certification or you have a skill that has an acronym to it, don't test me on naming one off the top of my head. I'm sure I probably could. I know I just had a client that had one. I can't tell you what it was just because I remember telling her, hey, do both. It may seem redundant to you, but this way you're covering your bases. So if Shell looks it up by the acronym, but Melanie looks it up by spelling out the whole name,
Then you get both.
then you're going to be covered, and you're going to guarantee yourself coming up in
Yeah,
searches.
and I would
Now,
never want you to get ruled out from something because you say it one way and they say it a slightly different way and you're like, "But that was the same thing. Why didn't they see that?" Well, if you don't have that exact phrase the way that they had it, it's very easy for them to like move on to the next.
but I will say this too: the skills have to be evident in other places of your profile. So we need to see this throughout, and not just your work experience. We need to see this in your about section. Maybe we see the certification acronyms in your headline, maybe even after your name in some cases. So we need to see it in other places. I always say, and I probably haven't said this in a while, that for me, your LinkedIn profile, every section of your profile is a puzzle piece. It should stand on its own in terms of serving its purpose.
Yeah.
But when I put it together, it should be a cohesive brand. It should be a cohesive message that makes sense. And that's what I want to see.
Yeah. And another feature that I will connect the dots to this is like the recommendation section lives right below the skill section on purpose. Like they support each other. Skills, searchable, very highly searchable. Recommendations, social proof and credibility that you actually know how to do that thing. So even if recommendations themselves are not keyword searchable, when you're asking people to write recommendations for you, make sure to touch on some of those, not all of them, because who's going to list like, hey, can you talk about all 75 of these skills that I have on my profile, please? No, nobody's got time for that. But be really intentional with the ask and say, hey, would you mind speaking about X, Y, and Z? You've seen me in this capacity. And that way it piggybacks and like supports those same things that you want to be known and found for.
Here's the other thing too. You can reorder your skills. So you can actually, if there's like, so you have 5 top skills that can, and this is also the investment in skills, by the way. You can list your 5 top skills under your about section. A lot of people have done this. I will say I see it more often, still not as many, but I call it, those are your overarching skills. So for me, LinkedIn, career coaching, let's see if I actually know mine, interview coaching, interview preparation, job searching, and there's a 5th one, but I can't tell you what it is because resume writing, 5 top skills, I promise.
I hope
those
so.
Those are my 5 key areas. That's what I tell clients. Those are my specialties. Okay. That is what, if you hire me, you're going to hire me in one of those buckets. That's at the top of your profile. That's under your about section. So that automatically should tell you LinkedIn sees the value of those skills. And when they started making those changes, they also started making a change of now you can add skills to each of your work experiences. I will say here, I think people have, so if you look at mine, I want to preface something. If you look at mine will have a ton of skills. So I do not walk this talk. The reason is I often use my profile as an example to clients. So I'll be like, here, let me show you how to add a skill. So I just kind of pile them on. I actually think for each job, you should treat it like the top 5. What were the top 5 things? Because it gets too big. Nobody's looking at those. But if it's 5, I can capture it visually. What were the top 5 skills for that position? So again, you see LinkedIn investing in a certain area, talking about skills from your about section to work experience down to the skills. That indicates it's an important section for the profile overall. And to your point, Shell, real quickly on the recommendations, guess what? People are curious. So if I'm down there in the skills section, you can reorder them to show your top. It used to be top 3, now it's top 2. But you can also reorder your recommendations as well. If you have a really strong recommendation, but it's older, move it to the top. Make sure people see that. But it's right there, so it's really easy for me to go, oh, hey, what does that person say about her? Oh, okay, because it's right there. So they catch your eye together, basically. I do think recommendations should be higher, to be very honest with you, but, LinkedIn's not asking. So LinkedIn hasn't asked. But unless they're listening, just FYI, move it to the top. That would be cool. Just saying. But yeah, so for me, I really push the skills section. I do want to, Jay made a comment about events can be a great way to be found, seen, and heard. However, the process should be easier to follow, whether it's video or audio. And so, yeah, I'd like to kind of, events are a great way, but there is a learning curve with it. And, LinkedIn audio, unfortunately, was very different in how to set that up versus how to do what you see right here. So there's a whole other, we have what we call the studio. There's actually more features that we could do here that I haven't gotten into, but going to be able to do so. Um, and oh, maybe you can't reorder your recommendations. Maybe I just made that up. I think you can though.
I,
I will. Shell's asking me a question
so what I
behind
told
the
her
scenes,
behind the
and
scenes
Melanie
is
got
like, wait,
distracted.
you can. As soon as she said you can reorder your recommendations, I was like, I don't think I knew that, and I went and I just checked it out on my own profile. Now, take this with a grain of salt, folks, because as you know, I'm often late to a lot of the rollouts, and I don't always have the same things that other people have on their profile. LinkedIn, I don't know why you're dragging your feet on this. I feel like I need to get things sooner than later so I can test them and help more people. But that being said, like I went and I don't have the ability to reorder my recommendations like I do in other sections of the profile. So maybe you do have it and I just don't. But I'm curious about other people.
No, I just made that up. Ignore me. I just
I don't
made that
want to
up
call you out for
for
like
some reason.
misinformation. I just want to know what
No,
things
no,
are
it's
true.
good.
And we know there's a history of me not having the same things that you do.
Thinking I misspoke in this. So one thing you can do is you can turn on and off your recommendations.
Yeah, for sure.
So not that. So maybe if you had an older recommendation though that was like really powerful, maybe having that one off or going. This is okay. This is be a good. This is why, because I actually had a recommendation. This is why I thought you could do it. I had a recommendation that I had profile from one of my best clients, and I did not realize it until the other day because I was working with a client showing her how to do things via my profile, which is I like some days I feel like my profile has just become a test profile. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have Mary Lou's her recommendation turned on. What the heck? Or it was, I think it was hers. So I turned it on, and I think that was where I was going with that. But that's also a thing. Like if you got older ones, but you have newer, you can actually kind of turn those off. You can. This is a perfect example of why we need to be active in our profiles. Maybe not daily per se, but active enough to know because there's a lot of changes too. And Chelle and I just commented on a post from Tony Restel. I tagged her on it about like how, and we both see this all the time. She'll work with a client and go, hey, do you see this? And I'll be like, no, I don't see it that way. I don't know how to do it that way. I'll look at something and how do you do this? Like, I'm not seeing this. So oftentimes you may see your profile differently than what I see on my profile. And some of it's because of changes and rollouts, finding that some of it is because of different plans that people may be on, other countries. Like, there's a lot of variables that happen in this. And so that's the other thing, too, that I think is that was an interesting conversation because it's like all these changes are constantly happening. And how do you keep up with them? Well, you come to rooms like this and we'll help you'll walk you through it. And we're constantly playing with
The
it.
other thing about recommendations too is like, and we talk about this often through the lens of like we're always evolving and changing just like the platform is, just like LinkedIn is. And so like the you that you were 2, 3, 10 years ago is not the same you that you are today. You do a lot of the same things the same way or similarly. You have more expertise, you have more experience, you have more knowledge, but your goals may be different. And so like speaking specifically about the recommendation section, you may have older recommendations on your profile that like are no longer how you want to show up and represent yourself. They may still be great recommendations, don't get me wrong, but if you're doing something different or you're going in a slightly different direction, it may not be worth it to have that one visible on your profile. If I speak specifically for my own recommendations, and you can apply this to other sections of your profile as well. If I speak directly to my own recommendations, I have 46, something like that, recommendations that people have given me over the last 5 years or more. I don't even know how far they go back. I don't have even I think I have maybe like half of them turned on, because who I was back in 2019, 2020, and even before then, or even in the last 2, 3 years, I have changed the way that I show up and support people. Now, the core of my being is still the same. I'm still very like supportive and encouraging, and I probably should have been calling myself the LinkedIn cheerleader back then. But like the quality of recommendation is different because I'm doing different things. I'm working with different people. I'm helping them with different nuances and things, and the newer recommendations are going to speak more to that and support what I want to be known for right now. They no longer support the things that I want to be known for now, because they support the things that I was previously doing. So any of the ones that, and again, speaking directly to myself, and you can apply this to yourself, any of the ones that are from my previous career as a graphic designer, or as somebody who helped with like signage and graphics for props and like movie sets, like those aren't going to be relevant here. Now, you could tie those things in maybe to how I operate when it comes to helping people brand themselves and highlight the things, but the recommendations aren't really going to speak to that from 10 years ago. The recommendations now are going to speak to that. So keep that in mind when you're going through and revamping things, is like, is the information that is being shown here, does it support my current goals?
And I fully agree with that. I'm all the time, because sometimes people don't have updated recommendations. And regardless of what your goal is here on LinkedIn, the question is going to be, well, what have you been doing? Like, like why? Because there's value to this. There's value in people seeing what does your customer say. For me, I do keep my um, a lot of my management recommendations from my staff, from my previous staff in recruiting. Why? Because I do come from a place of having been a former recruiter. I want people to understand what my background is, how I was, like there's value in terms of like the recruiting knowledge that I imparted on my team, and where that helps me coach today as a coach and teaching people how do recruiters look at resume or LinkedIn profiles and resumes and whatnot. So I do, but they are pushed down though. I mean, they're pushed down from where my current recommendations are.
Yeah.
So
And
I
and
definitely feel,
I want to add one more thing, if I can, about the recommendations. I see a lot of people that don't have any recommendations, or they don't have any that are recent. And by
yeah.
recent, I mean within the last few months, maybe even up to a year. Now, I get this question all the time. Well, what if the person that I know would write me one, we worked together a few years ago? Like, it's not work that they've seen me do recently. And that's okay. One, because when it comes in, it's still going to have a recent date. So it's still current. And two, you're still going to ask them to remember a time, relate back to, jog their memory on skills that you know are still relevant and applicable to the way that you want to show up currently. Just because they saw you do something 5, 10 years ago doesn't mean that they still didn't see you do something that you want to be known for today. So it's okay to ask people from previous careers or previous employment to write you new recommendations.
Also, I will say this, and I've gotten much better about it. The greatest gift you can give somebody to their LinkedIn profile is a recommendation. Like that is such a great kind gift. So I have a friend. She is seeking employment. She's moving from Baltimore down to Tennessee, looking for a new job. I wouldn't even call me her coach. Like I give her advice, but we work together in a volunteer setting. That's actually how we met. We met over 10 years ago. We've been friends, and I gave her a recommendation recently. In all transparency, helped her update her resume. I don't consider her quote unquote a client or anything like that. She's truly a friend, but I do know I've experienced her in a setting that allowed me to witness like what is her attention to detail. How does she's very thoughtful. Like it's more than just like, oh, you're my friend kind of recommendation. I also just gave a recommendation to the guy that was the studio producer for my courses with Udacity, who was incredibly kind. I mean that uh, shout out to Connor, has the patience of a saint, and and for somebody that had no clue what she was getting herself into, and having never read off of teleprompter in other than off of her phone, of the teleprompter app. I was very scared. I was very nervous. I kept apologizing every time I made a mistake. By the end of it, I wasn't, I was like, oh man, like almost
And
had
now
it.
you're a pro.
Now I'm a pro. Now I'm like, yeah, I can do that. But it's funny, like he made it though really comfortable for me. He also indulged me in like my love of coffee and making sure I had coffee, but like, but he made it very easy for me, and for that I appreciated it. And he's like, I'm so surprised you gave me a recommendation, and I'm like, every single person that walks into your studio should be doing that. Truthfully, I
Yeah.
feel that way. I'm literally like, like he is somebody that's like they should be doing that for you. So if you're in that situation, think about that person that you can give a recommendation to. And you can. I'm not asking this for myself. You don't even have to do it for Shell, but like I'm going to use Shell as an example because that's awkward. And it'd be more awkward to say, "Give me a recommendation." No, but literally, like these are the types of things. Like, hey, I've watched Shell give advice and lead, and I've implemented 3 or 4 of her steps, and this is what happened. And I've learned from her teachings. Like you can do that. So I really encourage. Also, big believer on giving. When you give, you receive. So recommendations overall just have a lot of power. And I know we ended up talking about but I think what you've probably gained from tonight's session is this. We didn't talk about the most obvious pieces that you often hear us talk about when it comes to your LinkedIn profile. Like we really
We didn't
did.
dwell on the banner and the headline today.
Dwell on the banner and the headline. We made our way all the way down to the bottom, folks. We didn't talk about the about section. We didn't talk about any of that. Talked about
Well,
these
you
other.
did. You did in
Well, we
terms
did.
of like telling people to tag their
Yeah,
top 5 skills to the about section. So we, in a roundabout way, we
we
did
got
touch on
we
it.
got
Yeah.
back up there, and then we came back down, and then we went over here. But that I think if you walk away with anything, what I personally, we're going to wrap up a little early just because I do have another LinkedIn live that starts at 7 o'clock. So I just want to make sure I've got a little time in between. But
Don't
that
worry,
also,
America. She won't be late.
I'm not going to be late. I'm going to be on time. And so, but I think it's a good reminder of like, have you checked those sections out recently? What does those sections say about you? So that's what my parting thought for tonight is going to be. So I'm going to ask Shell to kind of wrap us up.
Yeah. Well,
Final thoughts.
as Melanie's screen seems to be freezing a little bit, this is a good time for
Oh,
me to yeah, you're here
I'm like,
to round out the room for the evening. As always, we really appreciate you being here. And staying and asking your questions and dropping your thoughtful comments into the chat. If you want to let us know when the last time you updated your profile, or if you want to come back and let us know next week what parts of your profile you went back in and updated or took a look at or are considering. Let us know that as well. We'd love to hear from you. We always like to support you in return. We know you come here every week to support us, and again, we're so grateful that you do. Please make sure that you go back to the event page, you look around this chat, and see if there's anybody else worth having a conversation and making a connection with. You're all here for the same reason of becoming a LinkedIn rock star, and we're really excited that you want to be part of that. So we'll be back next week, same bat time, new LinkedIn
yeah.
event page, so same bat channel adjacent. Yes, David, definitely make sure to click and watch the replay. Let us know your thoughts on it. We'd love to hear from you all. And if you feel like you want to connect, please make sure to reach out to us because we'd love to connect with you. So thank you all for being here this evening, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you guys. Let us know too if there's any particular topics you want us to tackle in the coming weeks. And stay tuned because we've got some things up our sleeve that we are going to be rolling out. So just pay attention,
You
and
that I
we
don't
will
have
see
any
you
today.
guys. I have, yeah, I actually do have sleeves today. So normally
I've got something
I've
somewhere.
got, I got we've got a few surprises up our little sleeve there. I don't know another analogy for that. I've got in our hat. I don't know. But anyways, we'll work on it. But stay tuned.